The Detroit Tigers are 500.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Tuesday, August 27th, 2024. Thank you so much for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Welcome in, welcome all. Happy Tuesday and happy Detroit Tigers are 500 again. Your Detroit Tigers beat the Chicago White Sox by a score of 6-3 on Monday night, completing a 4-game sweep against the Southsiders. They fall to 31-101, and your Detroit Tigers improved to 66-66, making them 500 for the first time since early June. They are also 28-20 since July 1st, which is the second best winning percentage in the American League over that stretch. That stat is via the Detroit Tigers PR department. So the White Sox are terrible. We all know that. I saw a wild stat online before hitting record here where the White Sox against the Royals, Tigers, and Twins are 3-33. That's like unfathomably terrible. That's not even comprehensible in my brain. 3-33. In the same breath, I am not going to apologize for this team winning games against teams they're supposed to be beating, right? The Royals are fighting for a wild card spot. Those games just don't count when they play the White Sox. Same for the Twins. Right? Everybody in the division, everybody in baseball gets to play the White Sox. Everybody in the division gets to play the White Sox a few times. These young players also, this same group, won a series against the Yankees and swept the Seattle Mariners very recently. So winning is good. Winning is good. I don't think anybody should apologize or try to quantify or qualify rather the wins because of the opponent. We all know the White Sox are historically awful, but winning is good, and learning how to win is very real and very important. Yes, the White Sox stink, but you can't kill my vibe, baby. That's basically what I'm trying to say. We are 500 for the first time. The Detroit Tigers, obviously, are 500 for the first time since June 7th. And look, June did not go well, right? If you would have told me at the end of June that this team would have worked their way back to 500, I would not have believed you. If you would have told me post-deadline that they would have worked their way back to 500, I wouldn't have believed you. And here we are. And dang, it feels good. What went right in this ball game? Parker freaking Meadows. I know some of you are probably annoyed by how much I gas up Parker Meadows. I have to keep doing it. I can't stop. He is absolutely incredible. Mark Gorosh of Days of Roar, which is a great show, him and Evan Petzold, great coverage of our Detroit Tigers, posted on Twitter X, whatever it's called, on Monday night that in the last 19 games since July, 19 games, Parker Meadows has been worth over 1 win, according to Fangraphs WAR. That is ridiculous. Okay? That's absurd. In 20 games, less than technically, but in about 20 games, being worth over a win is mind-boggling. And he's crushing the baseball. He had a 415-foot tank in this ball game off of a lefty on a fastball inside. I almost cried. I almost started bawling my eyes out of happiness while watching this ball game. We'll talk about the lefties that stayed in this game a little bit later because I think that's an interesting conversation to have. But Parker Meadows is unbelievable. The defense continues to be incredible. We talk about the base running all the time. And now he's hitting. And we're seeing what kind of player he was hyped up to be in the spring going into the season. And dang, is he fun. Every single hitter but Dillon Dingler recorded a hit in this game. So I think that that's just a plus in general. What went right? The offense as a whole. They put up 6 runs. They had 13 hits and 3 walks. That's 16 base runners and 6 runs. Not a bad day at the office. And 8 of 9 hitters, not only getting on base, but recording a hit in this one. Some more individuals. I mean, it's kind of a laundry list by the end of the ball game. It was getting a little shaky. We'll talk about the beginning of the ball game here in a minute. But Kerry Carpenter hitting a walk, and the walk was off of a lefty. I think that's very important and very noteworthy to bring up. Colt Keith, Jace Jung, Spencer Torkelson. Okay. The heart of your lineup in this ball game, what was that? Your 4, 5, and 6 hitters in this one combined for 7 hits, and all of them had multiple hits. Obviously, Torkelson gets the home run as well. We'll talk about him in a second. Colt Keith had a huge hit to extend a 2-out rally, bring a run home. He stays in the game against the lefty at one point as well. A righty started for the White Sox. I don't want to get that misconstrued. There was a righty on the mound to start the ball game. We'll talk about all this in a second. But they did bring out a lefty at one point, and Colt Keith stayed in the game and looked pretty solid at the plate. And then Spencer Torkelson had a 3-hit ball game and a huge home run to dead center to kind of put the game out of reach and give the Tigers some breathing room there in the later innings. Dead center field, hanging curveball, breaking ball, whatever it ended up being. His first inning was brutal. Or 2 innings, I guess, were brutal. And I was about to come on here and put him in like what went wrong and be all critical stuff, which I don't enjoy doing. But he had the error at first base, and he his first at bat was not very good, and then he turns it around and ends up having a really, really, really good day. And I think that that's important. Those in-game turnarounds, in-game adjustments are important. It's very easy to get off to a slow start and just let it consume you and just have a bad day at work. And for him to be able to turn it around. Also, just the fact that on Sunday's game, he struck out on a hanging curveball in pretty much the same spot. He didn't even swing at it on Sunday. He takes a big hack at that one on Monday and sends it to the moon. I could not be more thrilled with Torkelson in the last 7 innings of this ball game. Thought he was great and was obviously a huge reason. I mean, we won by 3, and he had 3 RBIs on the homer. So very, very good day for Torkelson, which is good to see. We want as many as those as we can the rest of the way. Let's talk about Jace Jung a little bit, and then we'll obviously talk about Ty Madden's Major League debut. We will do all of that right after this. Going to talk to y'all today about our friends over at FanDuel. You've heard us talk about FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, a lot. Well, we have something a little different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then, with YouTube TV's base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to download America's #1 sportsbook. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Segment 2 of Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in as always, making us your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. We will, of course, be back tomorrow recapping game 1 against the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. I still call them that because I think it's cool. And after you make us your first listen, be sure to make Locked On MLB your second listen with host Paul Sullivan, a.k.a. Sully. He provides you daily national expertise with his trademark humor to bring you the best content and get you ready for the MLB postseason here, as we're only a little bit over a month away from the MLB postseason. So be sure to check out Locked On MLB as your second listen, available on YouTube, wherever you get your podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So talking about what went right in this ball game, this 6-3 victory over the Chicago White Sox. Jace Jung, big hit in this ball game as well. He also just barely missed a home run. Obviously, the broadcast was covering the fact that his brother was at the game very much. Was a really cool moment. Cool to see Josh there and like recording him on his phone. I always think it's so funny. Like he's in the majors. Like that there's gonna be a very clear video of him on an HD like 4K camera very quickly, no matter what he does at the plate. But like older brother still wants to get a video from his phone from his perspective, which I just think is still very cool. So awesome day for him. Also, not bad at the hot corner. The arm is not great and was short hopping a lot, but Torkelson's really good at scooping the baseball for all of his shortcomings defensively. That is certainly not one of them. He's an excellent scooper. So it's nice to see him make some athletic plays at third. We just got to see if he is going to be good enough to stick there long term, and that has yet to be determined. That's what the rest of 2024 is all about, baby. All about the auditions. Ty Madden made his major league debut, goes 5 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs, 1 earned, 3 walks, just 2 strikeouts. We'll take it, was kind of my takeaway, right? Like, we'll take it. Very happy for him, very happy for his family. Really cool to see that entire section pretty much dedicated to him, his parents, his wife, his newborn, just the entire family there. Always really cool. I gush all the time about how much I love the game of baseball in general, but all of the firsts that come with it, right? There's something so magical and special about a major league debut, first strikeout, first hit, first homer, all of that. And for him to get to experience that in front of his family is really, really cool. So as far as on the mound, again, kind of a we'll take it performance. The command was all over the place. Absolutely all over. Maybe it was nerves. Maybe it's something that he has to work on. It's likely both, based on what I know about Ty Madden. Not saying I know anything about the nerves side of it. I don't know him personally, but down in the minors, he had some inconsistent command at times. So I would imagine that just the nerves of major league debut plus the struggles he's already had with command probably snowballed into what you saw on the bump in this one. I did think the slider looked fantastic. I was really impressed. I went into the outing, as we talked about yesterday, really trying to hone in on his fastball and get a gauge for whether it was going to be successful at the major league level or not. But I walked away from it just unbelievably impressed with how good his slider looked. I really liked it a lot. I was also really impressed with the cutter. I also expected to only really be impressed with his fastball and slider and kind of not be too fond of anything else that he threw out there. I still think the changeup, splitter, whatever you want to call it, thing needs a lot of work, but I was really impressed with the cutter. I thought that it had a lot of late tail on it. I think it looks like the fastball until it doesn't, but it moves a decent amount. I was really impressed with that pitch, and I think that could be a legitimate weapon for him. So I was pleasantly surprised by how his cutter looked. The fastball, which is going to be his most important pitch and has been in the minor leagues. We talked about that yesterday. It was okay. It wasn't fantastic, but it didn't get crushed either. It didn't get as many whiffs up in the zone specifically as I would have liked it to have. Wow, English is very difficult. I would have liked to have seen more whiffs on the top of the zone from his fastball, but he can work on that with improved command of the other pitches. That will come a little bit naturally. But yeah, I thought there was a little bit left on the table there. It got into mid 90s, 94, 95. It touched a couple of times, mostly sat around 94. I think that it can be valuable if his slider is working well. at the top of the zone, and it just wasn't really too effective in this one. Oh, again, had a lot of trouble with command in general. So like fastballs over the heart of the plate were relatively common. Missed also way too high a lot, was throwing fastballs at dudes' eyes at some point. Didn't get too many in like that zone where he actually wanted it to. So maybe if we see a larger sample of better command, that'll change. But was definitely something I noticed a little bit, again, left to be desired there. The release point I noticed as well. And I've watched plenty of time Madden, but maybe it's just a different camera angle from, what I'm used to down in Toledo. But the release point that he has when he lets go of the ball, I think is pretty solid and unique. I think that it also is it kind of reminds me of a reliever's release point, which is something, again, to keep an eye on. We talked about his reliever potential yesterday, but I do think that for a fastball slider guy, letting go of the ball from right there is good. I think his release point is kind of deceptive in that way. So yeah, look, like I know I've just kind of rambled a lot and threw a bunch of like nerdy stuff out there all at once. Two things going forward that I'm looking at, okay, to really simplify it as much as I can for like going forward, is I'm looking for two things. A, what does he do against not the Chicago White Sox, who are on pace to be one of, if not the worst team of all time? And B, just a larger sample in general. Again, less nerves, hopefully, can calm down and so forth. Right. And that is something that only time will tell. As far as a debut outing goes, I am totally comfortable and fine with this. 5 innings and what did I say? 2 runs total, only one of them earned because of the Torkelson error. Right. Like that's more than fine. You'll gladly take it. I thought the stuff played at the major league level. I think it will continue to play. It's just all about calming down and getting his command under him. And that's something that, again, we will only really know with a bigger sample size. So, yeah, congratulations to him. Congratulations to his family. I think there's a lot that you can take from this outing. And those were some of the things that I noticed there. And then the last thing on what went right is just Tyler Holton's incredible. What was kind of low stress, like you're up 3 runs against the White Sox. I understand that that's not exactly like the highest leverage of situation, but him just getting a save is awesome. He's starting games. He's pitching, 4th, 5th, 6th. He's pitching 6, 7, 8, and he's closing games. Like, what can't he do? He's the most versatile reliever I've seen in a Tigers uniform in quite some time, and I absolutely love him. What went wrong in this ballgame? Not a whole lot. The only thing that really was noticeably not great in this one was the offense against Davis Martin, who was the White Sox starter in this game. He's had a decent year, to be fair to him. He's one of the lone brighter spots in this 31 and 101 record team on August 26th. My gosh, that is just mind-boggling. But like the Tigers were getting on base and they made him work as well. They just couldn't string anything together. And that's something that A, you see a lot with young players, but B is something that we kind of, I don't know, expect and that going forward we can address and hopefully the team can address and start taking strides in. So yeah, like they made him work and it caused him to only be able to go 5 innings. You got to a really bad White Sox bullpen, and you were able to come out on top pretty comfortably. And that's was a recipe for success, really, this whole series outside of game 2 when you put up however many, 10 runs or whatever. Outside of that, it was relatively close games for the first few innings, first time through the lineup, and then they kind of just kept the pressure on, and the Tigers walk away with a 4-game series sweep. The only other player I'm going to put on, I mean, Bo Brisky gave up a homer, but that was like one bad pitch. Outside of that, I actually thought he was pretty decent. The only player that I'll put in this category was Dillon Dingler at the plate, not in the field. I think that they did steal a base on him, and I thought that could have been a better throw because he probably could have got him. But I just really like how he calls games, and I think that he handled Ty Madden's debut really well. I think it was smart to go to Dingler, who has caught Madden a lot in the minors, for his debut. But at the plate was the only guy that really struggled in this one. 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. His numbers on the season are now a 157 average and a 503 OPS. Obviously a very small sample size there, but not great no less. He just kind of looks a little bit overwhelmed at the dish, like he's trying to force it a little bit. But the thing that I think is so important and that I love about Dillon Dingler is that, yes, he is struggling at the plate, and there's a huge learning curve and a huge adjustment period here for him to get used to major league pitching in terms of hitting major league pitching. He has not let those struggles offensively creep into his defense. That is so easy to do, right? You go up there, you go 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts, and then you start playing bad defense as well. It's so important for a major league catcher to not let that happen, and I truly don't think he has. So I want to give him credit, despite the fact that that I think that he was really the only player that finds himself on the side of things that went wrong in this ball game. Let's talk stuff. We got a lot of stuff to go over. All right, we'll do all of that right after this. Got to talk to y'all today about our friends over at Supply House. Get supplies from the site that is made for the skilled trades at supplyhouse.com. Supplyhouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. You can shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. So if you need help with an order, get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person every time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge as well by joining supplyhouse.com's free Trademaster program. Every Trademaster gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. So join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at supplyhouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at supplyhouse.com. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Third and final segment of Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Let's talk stuff. So one thing I mentioned earlier and that I do want to bring up again is that AJ left all of the lefties in the lineup out there, even though the White Sox brought in a lefty reliever for over an inning, right? Like a longer term pitched, didn't go 2 complete innings, but pitched in 2 innings in Schuster there. And AJ left the lefties out there outside of Zach McKinstry. McKinstry got pinch hit for Andy Ibanez. Makes sense. McKinstry is not a very good hitter against lefties. Andy Ibanez is Barry Bonds against lefties. Makes sense. But everybody else he let hit. And Parker Meadows, as we talked about earlier, crushed a home run off a lefty. Kerry Carpenter drew a walk off a lefty. And Colt Keith has been better against lefties than righties over the course of the entire season statistically. So I just think it's really awesome to see that and to leave them out there in a game that at one point, again, the Tigers were not only close, the Tigers were losing going into the 7th inning and then exploded for that 5-run inning, obviously. So I wanted to point that out. And like Trey Sweeney, I honestly, legitimately, I don't know if I expected Trey Sweeney to get a single AB against the lefty his entire stint. Now, obviously, Javy getting hurt, and we'll talk about that in a second as well, kind of throws a wrench in that and changes it a little bit. But I mean, I legitimately, I would have taken the under on any amount of ABs you would have offered me for, Sweeney facing left-handed pitching. And he stayed and played the full game this time around, despite the fact that the White Sox threw a couple lefties out there. Jace Jung stays out there against lefties. I really appreciated it. I thought it was a great learning experience for these young players, and a lot of them came through in that situation, which I think is even more important. Roster moves. Will Vest on the paternity list. We had Alex Faedo just became a father, and now Will Vest having a child as well. So congratulations to Will Vest and his family. Mason Englert to the majors down in Toledo. Has had some injury stuff this year. Also just kind of lost out on a roster spot on top of that going into the season. So he is back in the majors for the time being. And then Ty Madden obviously was added to the major league roster as well. Brian Sammons, the odd man out here, sent to AAA. Kind of disappointing. I thought he had pitched really well. He's a multi-inning guy. Now, I also understand they don't need as many bulk inning relievers if Ty Madden is going to be a part of this rotation going forward. And on top of that, Casey Mize could potentially be back by the weekend. That is something Evan Petzold wrote a great piece talking about how Casey Mize could be back as soon as Friday. And if that is the case, then you all of a sudden have 4 starting pitchers and you don't need as many of those long-term bulk relievers. But I really liked what I saw from Brian Sammons. I have really just, I love Mason Englert, the person. I think he's said a lot of stuff as a big mental health advocate. Like, he's done a lot of stuff that I have really liked, but on the field, it just hasn't been a smooth sailing ride for Mason Englert so far in his major league career. And I just, I don't know what else I'm going to see from Mason Englert to really change my mind there. But to be fair to like what I have deemed the rest of this season as like an audition, I guess Mason Englert is still young. He's much younger than Brian Sammons. And I guess that kind of leads itself to him being a part of some of the auditions as well. I also don't know if Englert's like going to be a long-term fixture. Like, it could just be Will Vest comes back and then Englert's sent down, but they also have Sean Gunther who could get sent down. There's a few options there. So Mason Englert back in the majors. Javy Baez done for the season, has right hip surgery. I know people have their issues with Javy. You never root for injuries. You never want to see injuries. Hopefully he can get back stronger and better and okay. He's also been dealing with back injuries, so I don't know how much this hip surgery has to do with, the struggles he's had with his back. We will see. The first thing that people ask me when this happens is, did we see his last game with the Tigers? I don't know. I have no clue. Like, I really don't think so. I think that they are going to see what they have next year with him. I also think that he's not going to be an everyday starter next year. I think that they're probably going to platoon him a little bit and slowly start phasing him out next season. But that does require him to be healthy. And as I already said, I always root for everybody's health. Never want to see injuries, no matter what the situation here. So hopefully he can get healthy. Hopefully the surgery will help him and help his back, because I really do think that is a large reason as to why his production has plummeted since joining the Detroit Tigers. Is just that back just can't hold up, and he complains about it all the time. He does like the twitch thing after almost every swing. It's brutal. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what comes of this winter. But for the remainder of the season, the silver lining for the Tigers organization is that you're going to see a lot of Trey Sweeney, and I think that the Tigers wanted to see a lot of Trey Sweeney anyway. So that's that update. We already talked about Casey Mize a little bit. Look, we'll end on this, okay? The Detroit Tigers are 500, and that is absolutely awesome. It's so awesome. And now you have a series against the Angels at home. The Angels are really bad. They're not historically all-time White Sox level of bad. I think they're like 25 wins better than the White Sox, and the Angels are really bad. So that's, again, a testament to how awful the Chicago White Sox are this year. But the Angels are not very good either. And I want to make this clear. Like, I am not expecting the Tigers to look like they have this series against a historically awful team the rest of the season, right? That is completely unrealistic. But this team is setting itself up and has put itself in a position to finish over 500, have a mid-80s win total with one of the youngest lineups in baseball. And that will allow the kids on this team to learn how to win, which we talked about earlier, and audition themselves for the team next year, which hopefully will be competitive start to finish. The kids are all right. Let's have some fun, man. Let's have some fun. The Tigers play the Angels tonight. That will be Brant Herter starting this ball game. I don't know if that'll be an opener, if he's expected to go like one time through the lineup. We'll see how that goes, but it's going to be a lot of relievers used probably in that ball game. And the Angels, believe it or not, are trotting out 38-year-old Johnny Cueto. Bless Johnny Cueto's heart, man. He has played for like half of baseball, it feels like, at this point. I love it. I absolutely love it. Hopefully he doesn't have a very good day on Tuesday because he's playing the Tigers, but I'm rooting for him, man. I absolutely love it. Dude just absolutely loves baseball and is provided for people that are around my age, right? Growing up, Johnny Cueto was the man. Like Cincinnati Reds, Johnny Cueto was just him. And so, yeah, I will always be a fan, and hopefully he can, I don't know, like if he plays decent enough, maybe he can even get a 1-year contract somewhere next year. That'd be kind of cool. So, but hopefully that good luck starts after Tuesday's game against your Detroit Tigers. 6:40 start time in Comerica Park. We're going to end the show by saying rest in peace to 1968 Tigers legend Don Wirt. Don was an all-star in 1968, got hit by a pitch that year, and was kind of the talk of said season, and then came through in a big moment in to help send the Tigers to the World Series and win the Tigers the pennant in 1968. Passes away at the age of 86. Lynn Henning wrote a fantastic piece over at the Detroit News, kind of talking about Don Wirt and his impact on the Tigers organization and whatnot. So for all of you who remember the 1968 Tigers, I'm sure Don Wirt is has a special place in your heart as well. So rest in peace to 1968 World Series champion Don Wirt, and we'll see y'all tomorrow. Thanks for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. Appreciate y'all for tune in every day, the everydayers. We will, of course, be back tomorrow. Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope. I'll catch y'all then, talking about, hopefully, a 500 baseball team. All right, let's keep it rolling. Go Tigers, baby.